I got to say something first, actually. You have an amazing community here. Because I really don't, I never know, never know what you're going to get. Unity churches are like a box of chocolates. No, I don't mean that, but, yeah, well, some nougat in there. Yeah, if the kids want to run, let them run. I'm good with that. We've got a little 18-month-old who is in the searching mode right now, which means everywhere she goes, coffee shops, restaurants, she'll find anything that's been lost for 5 years, or she'll pull it out and it'll have hair stuck to it. And so she's everywhere except in one place. But I mean, it's a very open community here, and there's a lot to be said for that. I love this. I still got people staring at my feet. That's okay. Why do I not wear shoes? Well, there's different reasons. Just try it is the main thing I say. Even though I know I'm not standing in natural grass, I'm on sort of lots of synthetic things. I'm putting my hand over the hole in my shirt that I realized was there this morning so that you wouldn't notice it, okay? That's what happens when you get your stuff out of the closet in the dark. See, now that you know about it, we never noticed it until you pointed it out. But it was actually first Thich Nhat Hanh. It was about 20 years ago. And he said to envision your feet, the soles of your feet massaging the backbone of Mother Earth in a walking meditation class. And I started noticing with different musicians that were more connected. And then I started looking into scientific research, found out that your body seeks an electrical ground through the soles of its feet every 90 seconds. If it doesn't find that ground, it immediately goes into a state of stress that continues to compound itself every 90 seconds. Interesting. If you don't believe it, try it. And if you've got problems with arches or anything like that, just less rubber, more cork, and those types of things work. But there's a lot going on right now. Anybody feeling anything? Shifts, changes, maybe a little? Things are getting a little tough? Maybe just a little. I was in Myrtle Beach last week, Unity in Myrtle Beach, and I had a picture of a fractal up on the screen that looked like somebody twisting a rag, and I called it like the sacred rag of your consciousness that feels like, and we ask for expansion, and we ask to, be united, reunited consciously with God, and we ask for divine presence, and then when it moves in, and we've got all these things, this BS, belief systems, I don't know what you were thinking when I said that, but we've got all this stuff in our consciousness that is anti-truth. Of course, when you bring that into the presence of light, it starts to hurt and you start to suffer because that's what you've related yourself as. And in the Aramaic, in Aramaic spirituality, in ancient Aramaic spirituality, the word for the light of the sun is the same word as the light of God. Okay? And the word for lunar light, moonlight, is nuhra, which is the word of human consciousness. What's unique about lunar light versus sunlight? It's reflective. It's still the light of the sun. But what happens when you move toward the sun? What happens to you? The closer you get to it, you what? You burn. What happens when you get closer to the light of God? You burn. People try not to think about that. Yeshua said, the big laughing guy, says, he wouldn't have looked like this. And I actually, for the first few years that I was, speaking about the Aramaic teachings, I kept cutting my hair, which was like cutting my arm off for me. But I kept cutting my hair because I was not looking for those kinds of references. And after a while, I just kind of lost interest. And, he wouldn't have looked like that. He would have looked like Saddam Hussein or Osama bin Laden, in truth. People don't want to talk about that, though. But what's happening right now is similar to moving toward the light of the sun. Yeshua said, those that are near to me are near to the fire. Those that are far from me are far from the kingdom. And then we were told, of course, that these great phrases like burn in hell. It says in the New International Version in Mark 9, if your eye offends thee, pluck it out. Better that you have one eye than to be thrown into hell, to enter into the kingdom of God than to have one to be thrown into hell. You know what that says in the original Aramaic scripture here? In Aramaic and in Greek? It says thrown into Gehenna. Does anybody know what Gehenna is? It was the city trash dump. on the south side of Jerusalem. And a man asked, what if I have a lot of mental issues, what they call demons? Lots of different sort of blocks and shady corners in my consciousness, and I can't handle them, and I'm not able to process them. People are great with taking things out of context. But when you look into that whole phrase, he was saying someone that can't handle everything that's going on. I feel like I'm being pushed to the edge. He's not really talking about me. He was talking about a person in general, not necessarily himself. And Yeshua literally told him, you know what? What'll happen is you're going to get sent down to Gehenna with all the other lunatics. The people who have mental issues, physical issues, they weren't allowed in the city at night. They locked up the walled city, and those people, you could actually stand on the walls of Jerusalem and see the lepers warming themselves by the fires of Gehenna. And that ultimately became mixed in with Greek mythology of a hell, Dante's Inferno, and the Passion Play over 1,000 years later. Stuff that wasn't there, what he said. There's no such thing as the fire of hell. There's only the light of God. And the only thing that can enter into that light is God, is presence. The word for God in ancient Aramaic is Allah, which means absolute only being. The key word there being only. In other words, there's nothing outside of God. That teaching of an external God that all came later. Lots of stuff came later if you haven't noticed. We were told about something else too. What does that word mean? Does anybody know what that word means? That's a Greek word, parousia. That's the word that we were told meant second coming. The word para means beyond. Ousia means matter or essence, beyond matter. It also could mean, this word can also mean presence, beyond presence, or a change in presence, a shift in presence, in consciousness. There's so many different ways. There's no word second in that. And of course we were told, Yeshua said, you must be born, what? Again. You must be born again, which means that when I'm going to get you into a really amped up, vulnerable, emotional state, and I'm going to wait until you're breaking down when you're at your weakest, and then I'm going to grab you and I'm going to indoctrinate you in that weakness, and then I've got you, which is not what it meant. That word in Aramaic means born from the first beginning or the first start. Not born again, but back to the beginning of everything before anything was even created, back to the source of consciousness itself, outside of time and space. That's a little bit of what's happening right now. Whether you realize it or not, all of your concepts of time, space, matter, what's good, what's bad, everything is being crumpled up and wrinkled and twisted, and it's all out all over the floor. Nothing is secret anymore. Nothing is secret. Hello, internet. It's all out there. And I'm like the pink elephant guy. I'm the guy that's talking about pink elephants, the things in the room that nobody else wants to talk about. Sort of like, okay, everybody's not acknowledging solar messiahs. People aren't acknowledging the fact that how many shifts in translations went from 2,000 years ago to now? Things like that. Think about it. And, a lot of the Bible or the Gospels that we take so sacred, how they weren't even written until decades, if not hundreds of years after his death. But yet that doesn't mean there's not value there. And that's why I'm here. I'm here to let people know, hey, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. It's not a conspiracy theory if you can look at it with conscious eyes. If you want to be unconscious, sure, it's a conspiracy theory. Put your head back in the sand and go to sleep. But if you can see that there is a very wide, archetypal, mythic, deep, high consciousness, insight piece of information that's been trying to get through to us with all these different people over millennia now, you can see something much bigger happening. I want to give you a little bit of an insight into something that Yeshua had said that was attributed in the Gospel of Thomas. And I think of the laughing Jesus with this, because they asked him, can you tell us how our end will come? And his response was, I hear a chuckle, though it doesn't say chuckle in parentheses in the Coptic, but it says, have you actually found the beginning that now you're looking for the end? And he says, blessed are those who take their place in the beginning, because they will know the end and they will not taste death. They will not taste death. Where's the beginning? And he also said what? In Matthew 28:20, I am with you always, even unto the end of time, unto the end of the world, unto the end of the age. When's the end of time? Never. In a lot of ways, it's never, but yet, if you think about it, time is manifest. Time is a manifestation, and all manifestation eventually has to come to an end, but yet, what we're doing is we're still believing in time. In the Sanskrit, in Hinduism, they spoke of Kali, she was the goddess that symbolized time and death. That when you get locked in time and matter, you die. You're not awake, you're not alive. Now, in that phrase, Matthew 28:20, Yeshua says this, Ina amkun ina. I am one with I, in Aramaic. Ina means I. Imkun means one with, united with, fused with, and Ina again means I. Now, if you don't understand what that means, let me give you a phrase from St. Francis of Assisi. What you are looking for is what is looking. You're seeking the presence that you are, and you're looking out there. And by looking out there, you create the rift in your life and the differentiation between who you think you are or think you need to become and who you are in truth creates the suffering in your life. And the wider the rift, the more you suffer. And then you beg for more God and more light. And the more God and the more light comes into the box, you scream and yell because it hurts and it's burning you. Imagine you lived 40 years in a dark box. And you've never seen light, and then one day, never seen light ever, one day the tiniest pinpoint of light is coming into the box. How would you feel about that light? Ooh, it's so pretty, fascinating, and I have hands and things that I didn't know I have because I've never seen before. But what would you want to do with that light? If it's a tiny pinpoint, you would want? What? You want more. But yet, let's imagine 40 years in darkness, you've never seen light, and all of a sudden the whole front end of the box gets ripped off. How would you feel about that? What would you call that light? Would you say, ooh, it's the light of God? No, you would say it's the fire of hell. Welcome to now. There is so much light that is being unleashed, right? I don't like unleashed. It makes a cool movie, I know, but there is just such an amount of light that's being opened. That essence is coming through. Everything we've asked for is here, but because we can't let go of our stuff, we suffer, and then we say that everything's falling apart and the world is going, in the words of Greg Braden's mother, to hell in a handbasket. I've never seen the handbasket, but I think I've been in hell before. I'm not sure, but now, Ina amkun ina. I am one with I. And then there's a word that means now, in every now moment. Like when you hear, give us this day our daily bread, there's no real word for day in Aramaic, in Semitic languages. It means moment in time, which is a day, a week, a month, a year, or now, okay? In every moment. And then there's a word that means, much like a dog that knows the master's going to be home in the next 5 minutes from work because he always comes home at the exact same time every day, or he just pulled up out in the driveway and the dog can sense that he's out there. And he's like, that anticipation. I am one with the I in every now moment in the anticipation of l'shulame da alma, which in Aramaic means not the end of time, but the ceasing of your concept of time. And da alma means not only time, it also means space or matter. I am one with the I in every now moment in the anticipation of the ceasing of your conception of time and space. When's the end of time? I heard it. Now. There's another bit of an insight there from Elohim. Every time Elohim would create in the Old Testament, he would say, and it was what? It was good. Well, there's no word for good in Aramaic. That word is tuv, which means ripe, R-I-P-E, ripe. Now, when's the only moment in time that you can judge fruit as being ripe? Can I pick up a green banana today and say, 10 a.m. Thursday morning, this is going to be perfectly ripe? Or can I look at a rotten banana that's festering? And actually down in Atlanta, I brought a banana up on stage a few months ago, filling in for David Alt at the Spiritual Living Center. And I made the joke that I brought a green banana, but not a rotten one, because I knew everybody would be looking at me bringing a rotten banana to a church service, but the flies. But can I look at a rotten banana and say, okay, at 9 p.m. Wednesday evening, this banana was perfectly ripe. Can I do that? No. When's the only moment in time you can judge fruit as being ripe? Now, when you bite your teeth into it and the juice is running down your chin and you're fully present in the experience now. So when he said ripe, what it means is it's fertile and it's ripe and it's rich right now. That doesn't mean it's going to be perfect or good later on. Because if I say something's good, if I say, you are so good, if I say good, your mind goes where? Something somewhere is bad. But if I say you exemplify goodness, there's a difference there. One's an opening process, one is a stagnant judgment. What we're doing is we're locking in on these little stagnant judgments and we're not being open to let the process flow through us right now. And I also said this in several of my talks recently. I was about to say Benedict Arnold. Pope Benedict, sorry, I'm going to pay for that one eventually. Wow, you talk about a slip. Even Pope Benedict said earlier in September that the entire Christian philosophy boils down to one word, the Aramaic word etfatah, which means be open. Be open. And there's a phrase from the Lakota, let the wind blow through you. And that doesn't mean not to be engaged and to ignore what's happening. It means to look and to engage in that and let it move through you. Because if you turn away, what does that mean? That's darkness. Darkness is looking away. Any philosophy that tells you to look away is a philosophy that's telling you to be unconscious. But what if you look and it's something that I don't know how to process? You don't know how to process it because you haven't been told. And I'm going to bring it to a close, I'm going to give you 3 little keys here. 3 big keys. Maybe I can come back and do a workshop in the future. Hint, hint. The Beatitudes were originally not a set of theological promises that they became in Greek, but in Aramaic, they were actually a step-by-step process, especially the first 7 Beatitudes from Matthew. I've got CDs over there called Home and Emptiness that are all about them. And I don't have time to go into why they're so different from what you know, but the first 3 Aramaic Beatitudes are essentially breathe, feel whatever it is that you're feeling, and let it pass. Let it move through and out of the system. Breathe, feel it, let it pass. What's the first thing that happened when you saw the news story on Friday? What was your body's immediate reaction? You stopped breathing, or someone pulls out in front of you on the road, or your mother-in-law, I love my mother-in-law. She's going to see this. No, I'm kidding. No, I do. Your mother-in-law or your boss comes in and says just the right thing to you. What's the first thing you do? Or imagine the parents of the children, or the children of the parents a few days ago. What was their first reaction? We all need to breathe. Remember to breathe. Breathing is the absolute core. Whenever you see the word spirit in Yeshua's teachings, what it actually meant in Aramaic was breath. That's something that's really important. It was very Eastern. I want to bring it together to a close with a little bit of a quote. This quote is from Drunvalo Melchizedek, which a lot of people here are probably familiar with. I don't know. I don't know what you would call him, anthropologist, or what does he call himself? He calls himself nothing. Good for him. People love to label me all the time. This is from the book Serpent of Light Beyond 2012. Beyond 2012? No, it can't be true. Now he's talking about, and he mentions Kali in this. Kali is in that Sanskrit philosophy, is that belief in death and that belief in darkness and that belief in physicality and matter. He's talking about getting outside of time. When's the end of time? Now. When more of us become fully present in this moment now, that shift starts to move through the culture, which is exactly what's been happening. What's happening in this room could not have happened 50 years ago. I wouldn't even be alive. I would have been cut down years ago with a smile on my face. This could not have happened. This is phenomenal. And people say, how do you know there's an awakening happening? I'm like, just open your eyes. Look. Just look. So this is from Drunvalo. Remember who you really are. Trust yourself and open your eyes to the new beauty of a new earth unfolding before you as we breathe. Peer past the darkness and destruction of the ending of this old male cycle. Do not look into Kali's eyes. There's a do not look. Put your attention on the budding life and light in the center of the vortex. Like a seed, your future is only beginning to emerge out of the darkness, but someday you will look back and realize that all of the fear and distress was only a dream created from the confusion of the ending of one cycle and the beginning of another. Death and life are part of the same cycle. Now look into the light and breathe deeply the joy of life. Eternal life without suffering was yours all along. Never were you ever separated from the source. Live your life without fear. Live your life with opened eyes and an open heart from the jewel within your heart, and you will extend yourself into the next 13,000 years here on earth and far, far beyond. There's no instruction manual. There's nothing you need to do. You just need to be conscious and be open now. You already are what you're looking for. It's not about an ending. It's about beginning. And that's your choice, how you choose to see it. Either you can see the earth that's being displaced and broken into pieces and moved to the side, or you can see that beautiful seed of awakening that's beginning to grow through. That's what you need to focus on. Thank you very much for being open. Love one another as I have loved you. Thank you. It's been my honor to be here today. Thank you.